Good morning, I'm Vicky Higgins and today I'm leading our reflection, looking at some of Psalm 78 and also touching on the passage from Mark's Gospel, chapter 14, verses 44 to 52. I'll start by reading some of the verses from the psalm. My people, hear my teaching, listen to the words of my mouth. I will open my mouth with a parable, I will teach you lessons from the past. Things we have heard and known, things our ancestors have told us. We will not hide them from our descendants. We will tell the next generation the praiseworthy deeds of the Lord, his power and the wonders he has done. He decreed statutes for Jacob and established the law in Israel, which he commanded our ancestors to teach their children, so the next generation would know them, even the children yet to be born, and they in turn would tell their children. This is the word of the Lord. The psalm obviously goes on a bit further than that, but I chose this passage, and when I was reading the passages, it struck me this one very much focused on children. And I've been thinking a lot about children this week, our children right at the moment, what we're passing on, how life looks now and how it looked in the past and how it will look in the future. So much change in such a small time. The pandemic has brought different challenges to children. So although they're not physically vulnerable to the virus, socially and emotionally, children are struggling. It's taken its toll. Children's mental health is rising exponentially. Children are struggling to be safe at home and at school and out in the community. Children are at risk from others. It made me think that children generally are at risk of not having guidance and support of structures, and this passage very much is talking about passing on goodness and hope through generations. But it's a challenge at the moment. People are stretched, poverty is high, people are working long hours, pulling them away from their families. And the church is fighting for its place in how it can help pass on hope and goodness to our children. At the moment, it made me think that children are getting lost and the world is a scary place for many of them. They're having to go back to education, having been told that it wasn't the place to be, and any anxiety about that is increasing. Those children who were worried before are more worried now, and children who might not have struggled to get to school are struggling sometimes now. We know that our schools do such an important job of teaching children and keeping them safe. When children miss out on school, they miss out on their future chances. And they miss out on the chance of hearing about you and hearing about society and the things that we've learnt from the past. Many are struggling to find their way, and some are being pulled in the wrong direction. So it just made me think, I suppose, that children really need our prayers right now. Children and families need the church to serve them and minister to them. We really need to pull together as a community to keep the next generation safe and pass on the good news about Jesus. The other reading today is from Mark's Gospel, and it talks about Jesus' arrest. And it just made me think after reading the psalm that the theme is about that Jesus is trapped, arrested, and his disciples flee, feeling lost, even though they were only lost for a while. What they knew before had gone, and at that point there was nothing to replace it for what they knew. They were scared. Jesus, of course, knew about what was to come and the hope, and he knew something better was coming, and he could hold that in mind, but the disciples couldn't. And again, they made me feel about how the children might be feeling right now, that what they knew has gone, and it's not completely all back in place. The world has been a bit tipped upside down. So I just want to pray really for those structures that are coming back into play, having a really key time in children's lives and how much need they're having to pick up. So dear Lord, I pray for our teachers. I thank you for the service their dedication to the children, and we pray you keep them well and safe from COVID while we try to get normality back. And I pray for our children in Formby, Sefton, the North West, UK and the world. Please, Lord, I pray they hear your message that gives them hope. I pray they become found. They're not lost, they're not afraid. And I pray that children have a trusted, kind adult to support them. I pray that as adults we keep children safe from the harm and we protect them. And I pray that we hand to our children a world filled with hope and a sustainable world where something more important than individual needs and desires gets handed through to generations. Amen.